You are now listening to the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer and author of the best-selling book, Stay the Course, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some goodies today from the guest that's up next. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as the Going North podcast, we got one heck of a superstar guest for you today. My goodness, I was able to have the lovely Hank Philippi Ryan to kick off Women's History Month, and we're almost over in terms of the schedule when this goes out, and we got another superstar, baby, another heavyweight champion, an award-winning New York Times best-selling author, who is also a notorious night owl who loves watching TV, eating bacon, playing video games with her kids, and sending cheesy texts to her husband. So let's give it up for the fabulous one and only TML herself, Miss Tosca Lee. How you doing today, ma'am?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here with you. So I'm so excited.
Yes, indeed, with the big old X, at least for me too, at least, because doing a little research on you, and you're actually the first person on this past podcast who actually won Miss Nebraska at one point.
Mrs. Nebraska. So, but that was over 20 some years ago, Dom. So I'm kind of a has-been at this point.
Oh, don't worry. Ain't nothing wrong with having victories that are a little older than others. That just means you built up even more wins since then.
Well, I hope so. And I've also not been wearing high heels quite as much too. So do that for a year and you'll want to like seriously taper off.
Yeah, I blame COVID for that one too.
Yeah, I don't think I've worn any real shoes for the last year.
There we go. It's like, yay, we get to just chill in PJs for just about ever now.
Yeah, which was kind of how I was before. So it wasn't that different. It hasn't been that different, but maybe a little more PJs than normal, slightly more. So that's one slightly upside to the whole thing.
There you go. The PJ wearing level went up tenfold. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, yeah, got to stay ahead of all the other PJ wearing folks now.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's great to have you on, and so many wonderful novels, able to really just embrace all of your creativity. So my goodness. So how does it feel? Like so many books out and more to come. You're able to get, heck, even like one point is the Wonderful Queen of Sheba book was a warrior princess book that you're working for a long time. And now the latest book is Single Light. Like, my goodness. So how does it feel and what's next for you?
Oh, gosh. Well, it feels good to have, to be able to look back and see that, the tangible proof of things you've been working on. Sometimes you work on things and there's nothing you can hold in your hand to show it, and you've got evidence of your hard work in other ways. But one nice thing about writing books like this is you can look back and see them on your shelf and take them out, and every now and then you thumb through them and you think, wait a minute, I wrote that, because it doesn't look familiar, but because you forget different things that you wrote about or put in there. And so I'd say it feels really good. And what I'm working on now is I've got a collaboration with another author on a World War II story, which is a little bit different for me. It's a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but it's a really important story that I'm really proud that we're telling, about the defenders of Bataan in the Philippines. And so I'm really glad for that project. And then I've got a medieval thriller that we're working on, and then I'm doing some exciting conversations right now around a potential TV development for the Queen of Sheba book, which would be really cool. So we'll see. As with all things with those, with TV or film or movies or anything, you never know exactly, but it's always fun to work on and to see what happens and how it progresses.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Oh my goodness. Sounds like someone's got some exciting developments, and seems like some growth is happening too, with some good history as well. Because if I'm not mistaken, you got your start writing a little bit of historical fiction, especially under the Christian category, right?
I did. My first few novels were considered Christian novels, and I had several that were biblical historical novels. So I wrote a book about Eve, as in Adam and Eve, and one about Judas Iscariot, who was the infamous betrayer of Jesus Christ, and then one called The Legend of Sheba, about the mysterious Queen of Sheba. So that's where that started. And then I kind of branched off into some more kind of dystopian sci-fi fantasy type stuff and thrillers. And most recently I've been writing thrillers, and my last 2 books that came out right before the pandemic hit were pandemic thrillers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was weird.
It's like,
Yeah.
hey, what does Tosca know behind these closed pages here?
I've had a lot of people say, because there were a lot of similarities between the story and the line between, and the sequel is A Single Light. There were a lot of similarities as far as, the emphasis on staying home, staying safe, washing your hands, wearing gloves and masks and hand sanitizer, and the outbreak starting in Washington, and just, things like that, and the search and hunt for, the rapid response and search for a vaccine. And so, I've had a lot of questions about that in the last year. And all I can say is, there are certain things that just kind of hold across the board. If there's a pandemic or epidemic, of course you want to stay safe, stay home, wash your hands, all these things. And the rest is kind of coincidence. But yeah.
You sure it wasn't a divine vision given to
Why?
you?
I've had people literally ask me that, because, we had cyber attacks in the book by Russian, agents and all this stuff too. And we have had some Russian cyber attacks. But I think part of it is just kind of stuff that is not that hard to surmise or guess at. So I don't know. But, that said, I do think that there is a divine aspect to all creativity. You may not be necessarily predicting the future, but I do think there's a lot of divine action happening in the act of creating anytime you do create. I'm a big believer in that.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. So my goodness, actually, I actually prepared a question based off of that. So my goodness, so what helped you to really find your moxie when it came to actually publishing and keep publishing your work, especially in the beginning? Because some folks out there, especially now, where it's like, all right, this darn COVID came, I've got this book out now, and it's like, all right, so I gotta sell it and gotta keep myself out there. And you yourself, you've done this multiple times, and you were able to keep your confidence up to the level where now you are basically among the stars. So what helps you to keep your moxie?
Well, I think that's a really great question. And I think that's an important question throughout your entire writing journey. Because, at the beginning, before you're even published, you should write with a lot of moxie. You should be audacious and bold and courageous, because your stuff's not even out there getting judged or torn down yet. So that's, which is true. You're not getting rated like a blender on Amazon or anything. So I always say, at the beginning, be bold, because there will be days when you'll struggle with that in days to come. So for all the beginning writers, I always say, write as boldly as you can and don't worry about what people will think. That's not the time. And then later on, as you begin to publish, I always tell people, you have to kind of fake yourself out a little bit and pretend, you have to write as though no one will ever read it, because we already know what it's like to be reviewed and be critiqued and have all that stuff come in, and, have have readers critique and write their reviews and stuff. And at some point you have to set that aside to actually create well. And so that's the only way I know to keep your confidence high when you're in the act of creating after you've been published. And it's something I have to tell myself with every single book. And then, the promotional part, a hard year of promoting where it doesn't go well, or sales aren't going well, or it's hard to be heard, in a world where you can't get out, especially like this last year, you can't get out among people and do the signings and do the tours. It is really challenging. And one of the biggest challenges is not just finding ways to reach readers, but finding ways to keep your courage up and not be discouraged, because if you let yourself get discouraged, it will carry over into your next project. And, you have to approach creativity with a certain amount of confidence, I think, to be able to fully do it well and enjoy it. So, for me, this last year, without being able to be with people in person, it's been important for me to connect with them online as much as I can. And in the early days of lockdown, after the pandemic, started, and we all suddenly found ourselves confined to our homes, I was talking with my husband and I said, I feel like I need to spend some time live, just being with my readers and telling stories and, just being real. And I said, I don't know how often. And he said, I think you need to do it every night for a while. And so that's what I did. I went live every single night for over 60 some days, 66 days, 67, something like that. It's the most days in a row I've worn makeup in my entire life, including when I was Mrs. Nebraska, because I never wore makeup that many days in a row. And we spent time together just laughing at because it's just me live and they're on the screen and they're responding and I'm responding to them. But we spent time, live, and I would read to them and they would laugh at my dogs, and we would just talk about what our last week was like. I would show them what I was cooking for dinner. And it was just a really cool time to connect with readers that I'm really grateful for, because on a normal year, I never would have had that. And then we started doing it weekly after that. And I've just ended the weekly things, but it was the better part of, 9 months that I've done this. And it's just been a priceless time and opportunity that I never would have had. So I'm so grateful that we had that time together.
Yeah, I can say that again, because it's like, oh, there's always that lovely silver lining, that solace with all the nonsense going on. It's like, yay, technology, get to connect with my readers.
Well, and then your readers better too, because you know who you're writing for. And I think it's a very noble cause to try to transport people through the escape medium of novels and fiction and stories. And it really gives you an improved sense of mission and focus when you know that, I'm writing for Holly, I'm writing for Les, I'm writing for Diane, I'm writing for, and you know who they are. It's been really special.
Woohoo! Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And that actually is one heck of a gift too, because that helps you so much with like, oh, so these are the folks who know about me and like what I do, and helps you become a better writer, heck, even a better marketer and a better businesswoman.
Absolutely. Because, you can say your audience, but do you really? I mean, do you have faces? Do you know their names? Do you know their stories? Do you know their backgrounds? That's important, I think.
Oh yeah, it's true, because it's like, oh, you got to really know your audience. And like I said, it's like, do you have a face to them? Yes, they are all the same. It's the yin yang symbol. That's right. It's everybody.
It's everybody. And ideally, you'd like to think you're writing for everybody, but you're really not. You're writing for only a specific group of people, because not every book or piece of art or anything is for everybody. And that's good for me to remember too, as a writer, especially, when you come across people who your book was not for them. And that can be hard, but that's okay, because it's not supposed to be for everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely true. It's actually kind of funny how it works, because at one point it's like, oh yeah, like get out there and find who likes what you read or likes what you write. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, cool, I found him. And then after a while, it's like, then a lot more people show up and it's like, oh, I didn't even know. Like, I would think they would be more interested in maybe the unicorns, maybe not this type of reading here. And then more people keep finding it's like, oh, this is actually freaking good. This is freaking
Mm-hmm.
good. It's like I'm a giant magnet for a lot of humans.
Yep. Yep, you can be. Absolutely.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. So being able to find that confidence and to keep it up while you're going, and heck, even adjust to the wonderful times and be able to stay flexible. So with
Mm-hmm.
all this wonderful stuff that you do, what would probably be other things that you would probably do to keep your research up with your writing? Because I remember one time, I think it was for the Ascari book, you went to Israel to study under some rabbis for the book. So is there
Mm-hmm.
anything in particular with the upcoming projects that you have in mind?
Well, with the World War II one, so many of the people who took part in that part of the war have passed on. There's very few survivors, but we're very fortunate to have a lot of firsthand accounts of the survivors. And my my co-author has done a lot of work. He's well known in the World War II kind of genre. And so that's been good. I wish I could get on a plane right now and go to the Philippines, but that's not probably going to happen for a little while. It is on my list of immediate upcoming have to do, type of things. So the travel thing is really hard right now during this, period. We've really not done a lot of that and just basically stayed home. But, as far as research goes, I find that for writing in general, it's really great to continue to learn and read what others write and teach about writing just for my own continuing education, I guess you could say. And then working with the TV producer on Sheba, I'm learning more now about screenwriting, which is really exciting and something that has not been, my area of expertise by any means. So that's fun. But the other thing is teaching. I've spent some time over the last, well, since the pandemic started, teaching virtually, which is really weird when you're recording a class or a workshop to Zoom and it's not live and you're just talking to a blank screen. It can be a little bit weird. And, I'm really used to interacting with people live or at least interacting with them online. But I've been doing a lot of teaching and I think that's been really good because anytime you teach, it causes you to have to distill things down into kind of the basics and to put things in words that maybe you haven't thought about that concretely before. And so that's something I love. And in fact, I'm also teaching, I don't just teach on writing, but next month I'm teaching a continuing education class for people over the age of 50. There's a special learning group called the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, and many universities have it, and we have it here in Nebraska. And so I'm actually teaching a course on the Queen of Sheba and who she was. And it's really great to have the opportunity to share all the research I've done because, once you've done it and write the book, then it's just sitting there. So I'm really looking forward to sharing more of the myth and legend and lore and, religious tradition around her and the legendary King Solomon as well.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking
Woohoo!
about, indeed. That's right,
Mm-hmm.
folks. So now we have to leave virtual apples on Tosca's Facebook page now.
I prefer bacon, but yeah.
Well, there you go. So virtual bacon. There you go.
Virtual bacon. Never as good as real bacon, but I'll take it.
You heard it here, folks. The professor hates these apples, folks. Get rid of the apples.
That's right. Don't want any apples. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what has got us all in trouble the first time, as some say, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, sweet. Well, that's what I'm talking about. So since your dad was a professor, now it circles back to you in a way now.
Yeah, I've never been a professor per se, but I have taught my entire life. I used to teach computers, and I've taught English, and I've taught writing, and I taught in the corporate world for many years, and then left that to write full time. So, I've taught different things throughout my life, and it's something I really enjoy doing, and I find myself falling back into all the time, even though I don't really identify as a teacher per se, because I guess, it's never been my full-time profession. But that said, I do come from a family of teachers. My sister teaches medical school. My mom used to teach at the university. And we come from that kind of heritage. So maybe it's inescapable. I don't know. You can't outrun your fate.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about right there. That's right. Can't escape your fate at all. You're now stuck here. You can dilly-dally all you want, but it's coming back.
That's right. That's right.
Ah, beautiful. So what do you think is probably your favorite thing you've learned again after teaching something?
I think one of the biggest things is to just know why you're doing something. And, sometimes, if you've done something for a long time, like writing, I've been writing a long time. I wrote my first novel in 1989. And so I've been doing this for quite a while. I did not publish my first novel until 2006. So it was a long journey for me. And throughout that long journey of getting there, and then writing and publishing 11 more novels since, and now working on some new ones, there's definitely been ups and downs. And there's definitely been times where I was writing for different reasons. And I think that's okay. I think the why can change. Sometimes I write because I just have to get a story out and it's something for me. Sometimes I write because I really think this story will entertain people, and people need wholesome entertainment. They need an escape that isn't fueled by drugs or alcohol, something they can sit down and do to help take their minds off difficult things or other things in life. I also write as part of my job, so I do it to help support my family. But I think teaching has really brought me back to that question. And it's something I ask people all the time. Why do you write? Why is this so important to you? Why do you want to do this? And it's important to chase that answer, I think.
There you go. Like Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny. Got to chase it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You got to keep hunting. And especially in this job, you really do, because it takes so much tenacity, because it can really be a marathon, and you just have to keep sticking with it even when it's discouraging.
That's right. So true indeed. That's right. Because you definitely don't want to end up as one of the blenders on Amazon, right?
To be a blender on Amazon. But that's, at the end of the day, you will be, because you're lined up on Amazon with, 5 kajillion other books and a bunch of household appliances and God knows what else. And people will rate you like that. And it is a little, I don't know, it feels a little dehumanizing sometimes. And I think sometimes readers don't realize that authors often do read the reviews, but at the end of the day, if you know why you're writing, and you know why and who you're doing it for, I think that's what's going to get you past that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Sweet. So any other advice for the authors who may read their reviews and how to handle taking feedback?
Yes, I do have a piece of advice. And, that is, if you see something in several reviews, let's say, something about, for instance, your characterization or whatever it is, if you see it show up over and over and over, then it might be worth paying attention to. And you can take that and pay more attention to it in your next project. But, in general, I think you have to remember a couple things. Not all books are for all people. And then sometimes you come across these reviews and they're not just bad, but it's like the people are mad. It's like they're angry. I mean, they're like, you know what I mean, right? And you come across that really super vitriolic 1-star where they not only didn't like the book, but it's like they're offended and now they hate you. You read them and you're like, what? You know, and they don't just say this book wasn't for me or I didn't care for this. They have to like insult you. And people do that sometimes. And you know what I tell writers is when that happens, you have to understand that those people are telling you more about themselves than they are about you or your work. And so when you feel that kind of rejection from people, you have to have a philosophy around rejection. It's never going to not hurt. It's never going to not sting. But if you have a philosophy where you understand that when people get nasty, they're really sharing more about who they are and what's going on with them than they are about your work, I think it really helps.
There we go. That's right. It's all about having the right philosophy. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right. Because it is true. It's like Reese, I'll still never forget this one interview. I see a couple times on some books. It's like, the book showed up late and ripped, like, 1 star. I'm like,
oh yeah, in which you can't do anything about that anyway. And yeah,
exactly. It's like rate the content, not the actual shipping process. There's a separate actual comment section for that.
I did not send it out.
Yes, indeed. It's like, all right. So this person lacks observation and doesn't like to do much work. All righty then.
Yeah, but did you read the book? Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So since this was far from your first rodeo, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
You know, not really. I mean, I enjoy questions about, you asked a really good one about, when you teach, what is it that you're taking away from that? And, I can tell you, there's a lot of questions that I understand why people ask them, but you get asked them all the time. So there's more of like questions that I feel like I've answered a lot, but I always enjoy kind of the questions that are a little different, like what did you learn from teaching, or how do you keep your spirits up during a pandemic year, which is not a question that many of us have been asked before this last year. So I think, one thing that I like to talk about and don't always get the chance to is just the fact that it's important in the creative process, especially when you start doing it as a living, or you start, making some money off of it, or you do it over and over, like you write books over and over. I think there comes a point where you have to remember, why you're doing it, which we talked about, but also that you have to remember to have fun, because it can seem like a lot of work after a while, because it is a lot of work. It's a heck of a lot of work. But, at some point you have to remember to have fun. And that's something that my husband has said to me many times, especially, as the publishing industry has gone through its various gyrations and, issues and stuff as it affects authors. And it can become very disheartening, when you're not getting the publicity you hoped for, or publishing budgets get cut, and whatever, things outside of your control, and it can become really disheartening. But at the end of the day, when you sit down to make your art, whatever it is, somehow that kid inside of you still has to be able to come out and play, and you still have to be able to have fun.
That's right. Even have to shout out meow if you have to. Beautiful. Well, I rarely pull out this question. So is there a question that you wish you'd not be asked a lot?
The one that is so hard, it becomes harder the farther in your career that you get, is tell us about your publishing journey. And it's like, well, my publishing journey spans over 30 years. So it's like, really? How long do we have? I know I'm a storyteller and I'm used to like writing novels, not telling them. So it's kind of like, that one's hard. At the beginning, when you've just finally sold your first book, that's a much easier question to answer, where you can say, here was my big break, or how this happened for me. But, after you get a ways in, it's kind of like a really long answer.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, wow. So it's a 30-minute podcast, but this question will take 5 days to answer. So how long you got?
Part one. My early years. Yeah.
That's right. She was still in diapers, folks. That's right. Carrying around her first book. She was carrying around the Iscariot book.
That's right. Right. Yeah. I wrote my first novel when I was 2. Yeah, I'm at that age now where I completely date myself now too. If because I wrote my first novel in 1989 after my freshman year in college. And so, and then I look back and I'm like, wow, now everybody knows I'm over 50. Oh, well.
Don't worry. 50 is the new 40.
That's what they say. I don't know. I think they lied. I don't know. I got my first root canal this last year, so I'm not buying it. I think that person, yeah, no. Yeah.
Root canal.
It is just a number though. That's true. But you do have more maintenance issues the farther along you get, I think. So the more mileage you've got.
I am so adding that to my repertoire now because it's so darn true. More maintenance issues. Like, oh.
Yeah.
It's like, the aging process. We all become high maintenance.
That's right. And it's like, I always used to think, why do old people always talk about all their ailments and stuff? And it's like, oh no, I feel like I might be turning into one of those. I'm like, please don't let me turn into one of those. But there's a lot more maintenance, Yeah.
But hey, it's all good. You're tenacious and you got a lot of moxie, so you'll be just fine.
That's right. That's right. It'll keep you younger.
Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And
oh no.
Why say it like that?
I don't know. I just kind of had this moment of fear, but no, I'm good.
Oh. Well, do you want to go back to your leadership consultant days before I bring out the question?
No.
Come on, that was fun. Probably walking around wearing power suits, giving folks advice.
I did do that.
That's right. And she's still doing it today, this time in PJs.
That's right. I like that so much better.
That's right. In PJs.
All right, hit me with
PBJs.
The magical question. I'm ready. The suspense is killing me now.
The thriller novelist is now in suspense. That's right.
I know, right? I'm like, I'm biting my fingernails here.
Oh, it's not that bad. We're just going back 5 years since she had a 30-year publishing career. So if you're to wake up... So if you were to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but this time in 2021 with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh, I'd be like, dig in and quit procrastinating and stay away from binge watching TV too much and do what you got to do, because, when you're 25 and you're passionate about something, you have way more energy than you do later on. And I would just say, you know what? Foster your passions, keep writing those books, never look back. And I would say too, don't waste time on relationships that don't serve you. Don't waste time on people that will not encourage you and who don't believe in you. Surround yourself with the people who who see the possibilities in your life and in yourself, even when you don't see it for yourself. And, just get to work and keep cracking, because there's so much good to come. And, don't ever slow down. That's what I would say.
Woohoo! Solid advice right there. Solid as 5 rocks, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Eat more bacon.
Hashtag eat more bacon.
Yeah.
See, there you go. That question wasn't so bad, was it?
No, but, I had to kind of think about that one, because, and here's the thing, I think this happens to us all when we kind of reach a certain point in life, even with the pandemic going on, where we think, I wish I knew everything I know now when I was 18, 20, 25, 26, 30. I think that's something we do. And I think that's something that we all wish for on some level. I know I do. And the hard thing is that it's like you had to go through all those years to get to the point where you know it now. But wouldn't that be great? I mean, I that's something I really wish I could have, if I'm honest.
There you go. The best policy right there. Because we all desire that. And that's usually where a lot of wisdom comes in. It's like, yeah, if I was younger, but if it was this year, it'd be totally different, because I have all the experiences, but it's a different year. But I'm younger,
Right.
so I could tackle it.
Yeah, that's right. And, and I think back a lot, and I think that's why movies and stories like this are so popular. But I think I wish I knew now. I wish I knew in high school what I know now, because I wouldn't have worried about so many things or been so concerned about, silly little things. But, I guess we all have to go through that. So.
Yep, that's right. Life hitting us with those heavy punches, those heavy throws. But hey, the good news is human resilience is freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's true. And we are all more resilient than we know. I really think that.
Yeah, especially being a lady of faith, right?
I do believe that. And that's not to say that things have always been easy. I've gone through some difficult things. I've gone through some difficult seasons. And there were times I thought, I don't think I'm strong enough to get through this. But you really don't know how strong you are, or how strong you can be, or how much your faith can carry you through it until you come up against that situation. And then at some point it does show up in your rear view mirror.
Yeah. And then you can walk away from that wonderful evil past like you're in the first Iron Man movie.
That is true. I feel a little like Tony Stark. Yeah, no.
There you go. In this case, it's Tosca Stark.
That's right.
That's right. Wouldn't that be awesome? Just have a random alternate universe. It's like, yeah, there's Tosca Stark out there. It's Tony Stark's cousin, who's also a genius, but not as well known.
I
She's
really
Iron
wouldn't
Woman.
mind being a genius. I think that'd be pretty awesome. I don't know about flying. I have a fear of heights, so I don't know. I might have to stay on the ground a little more, but yeah, I think it'd be pretty awesome to be a genius.
Well, you're probably already there. You're already writing fiction, and you've done it multiple times, and that takes a high level of creativity, and that's pretty much what genius is, to be honest. So you're kind of already there.
Well, thank you. I'm going to try to remember you said that the next time I'm sitting down pounding my head against my desk, which happens sometimes. So I will remember you said that, Dom. Dom said I was a genius.
Heck yeah, because writing fiction's hard, especially if you don't take classes on how to do it. Like, like there's a certain art and persistence to that, and to be able to keep up with everything. So yeah,
it's hard. It is hard, and that's part of why, when people say like, yeah, I'm going to write a novel too. When I get some free time, I just I want to throat punch them just a little bit. Because, it's not like I mean, I have 4 kids, so it's not like I have that much free time and I just sit down and I just exhale this beautiful novel or anything. It's a lot of hair pulling, hard work over days and days and months and sometimes years. So it is hard. That is true.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we all don't need to build rockets to reach the moon. Like we're all geniuses in our own lane.
Mm-hmm. I do think that's true. I do think that we are all uniquely gifted.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, for those who want to continue to unwrap your wonderful literary gifts, what's the best way for folks to learn more about the wonderful Tosca herself?
Well, you can go to my website. There's a lot of stuff on there, and it's Tosca, Tosca Lee, Lee.com. And there's also all the links to my social media. I'm on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook mostly, and Pinterest. I do have boards for each of my books on Pinterest, and I'm just Tosca Lee on all of those, and author Tosca Lee on Facebook. And you can see pictures of my giant dog and sometimes my kids and my handsome husband and stuff I'm cooking, how I'm procrastinating from writing. I had a fan once who posted this Kevin Hart meme, and it's one where he's got his eyes real wide, but they've got this meme and they've got this line there, and it's like when you see one of your favorite authors posting on social media and you're waiting for them to put their next book out. And I get that, but I've been called out a few times by my readers who like, aren't you supposed to be working? Mm-hmm. So you can see all the ways I'm procrastinating on there. It's part of the process.
Yeah, exactly. It's procrastination on purpose. So that way the creativity really explodes when
That's right.
puts the pen on paper.
That's right. I'm going to go with that.
There you go. You can say you're building up your creativity muscle.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I really do procrastinate quite a lot, but then I kind of reach that panic point and kick it into gear. And I've done it that way every single time. And I really do think it is kind of part of the process for me. But yeah, so there's a lot of dog pictures and cooking stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. Check out all of Tosca's social media, folks. See how she's procrastinating, aka creating your next favorite book, folks. This is all the process of how she creates your next favorite book to read, to entertain you, and to keep you up all night, baby, all night in a good way. So that way you can go home, go to work tired the next day and be like, you didn't get no sleep again. It's like, oh, it was that Tosca Lee novel. It's freaking amazing.
That's right. That's what I aim for.
Yeah, exactly. She left this hidden code in the book, and I've been trying to figure it out for the past 3 months. It's great.
Oh, you know about that. Mm-hmm. I did. I put a code in the line between, and then people can go to my website and enter the code and see if they figured it out. So, yeah, sneaky stuff.
That's right. That's right. She's not only famous writer, she's also a word ninja. That's right.
Authors do that all the time. They hide little hidden jokes or inside things or Easter eggs, and I've done it forever. But with the line between, it was like, I think it'd be fun to see if people can find this and figure it out. So I do have a menu item on my website that says code, and for people who think they know what it is, they can go in there and see if they're right. And we've had a lot of fun with that, actually. It just kind of adds a little more dimension to the story. So it's been kind of fun to see who's figured it out. And then every now and then I get somebody writing to me saying, please, can I have a clue?
Yep.
And I'm like, no. No, I don't. I'm not mean. I give clues.
So I panicked to write this. You got to panic to figure out the code, buddy.
That's right.
Woohoo. Well, any parting words before we close up shop?
I just want to say thank you so much, Dom. I want to say, it's really inspiring for people to be able to listen to podcasts like this. And I know how much time and dedication and effort it takes, and how much work it takes to get everything set up and organized and make sure people show up and are doing it, and to keep the ball rolling and to have the setup and to be dedicated to it. And so I'm just amazed at the dedication and work that goes into something like the Going North podcast. And so I really appreciate the time that you take to help highlight fellow creatives and let their voices be heard in new ways. So thank you.
You just got done listening to another powerful, power-packed episode of the Going North podcast. I hope you really enjoyed what you heard. You made it all the way to the end. You get to hear all sorts of goodness. I was the best, but you just got done hearing some goodness. Go check out the guest stuff. It's all in the show notes on the website, donbrightman.com, and also reach out to those that you've just heard as well. And keep rocking it, because you yourself are phenomenal for making it this far. And keep going north.